Today marks 7 months since I started hitchhiking from Portugal to Australia, so here's the route I've taken so far. I left Portugal on the 18th of March 2025. In Europe, I was mostly visiting some friends, but also made a little stop in Switzerland, where I made more than 300 euros by selling postcards. I then got a truck from the south of Hungary all the way to Istanbul, reaching the second continent of this trip in just 19 days. The long waiting times I had back in Europe were now more rare, and I was constantly being invited for tea. I hitched some rides to get to the south of Turkey, where I met with my sister, and together we traveled to Cappadocia. She eventually went to Bulgaria, while I kept heading to Georgia, with a nice stop in the city of Tea in north of Turkey. Georgia was where things got more difficult. An Egyptian friend who was hitchhiking with me got denied entry to the country for no reason, which made me very frustrated and led me to question a lot of things. I then spent a few days in Batumi mostly editing a YouTube video before hitchhiking to the east of the country. That was when I had my first really bad experience with hitchhiking, as a 70-year-old man tried to grab me and kiss me. Thankfully, I managed to leave the car and take my backpack before things got worse, but it was quite scary. I was lucky that it was the last ride of the day, and I was finally arriving to the eco-village that would be my home for the next 3 weeks. There were a few female hitchhikers there, and I right away got to talk to them about what had happened and to feel like I was in a safe place. During those 3 weeks, I also went to Tbilisi to take care of my Russian visa. I spent 3 days at the visa center until I found this amazing French couple who had a seat left on their van. I got to experience a little bit of van life while crossing Russia with them and another French family, which was pretty cool. In West Kazakhstan, I got sick pretty bad and even had to get rehydration solution at the hospital. That was also when I randomly met Verena and their amazing family, who despite not knowing me from anywhere, treated me like family. I then made my way to Aktau, and until now I had been using mostly couch surfing and camping as my accommodation, but I started to get really burned out. So when I got to the south of Kazakhstan, I decided to go to a hostel to get some rest and edit. I also carried 20 liters of water on a trolley and spent 3 days hiking alone through the Mangistau desert, which was one of the best experiences of my life. My 30 days were almost over, so I had to leave the country, and since this border is currently closed for cars, I had to take the train. I didn't spend much time in Uzbekistan, but Samarkand was a very beautiful city to visit. I also went on a little trip to Tajikistan to hike the 7 lakes and was amazed by this country's hospitality and beautiful landscapes. Back on the road, I spent 5 days hitchhiking to Kyrgyzstan to start volunteering at a hostel, where I once again found a place that felt like home. I met some nice people and went on a 4-day hike that didn't go so well, but the landscapes were worth it. However, most of my time at the hostel was spent editing 2 YouTube videos and preparing everything for my next adventure, an 800-kilometer hike on the Pamir Highway. I hitchhiked to Osh from where I started walking. This was my kind of vacation from editing, and I spent 5 weeks with no data, walking, showering in rivers and natural springs, being hosted by many amazing families, and writing a lot about my thoughts. I just wanted to keep on walking, but my 30 days were over. So I hitchhiked back to my little home in Kyrgyzstan, where I re-met some familiar faces and befriended new ones. I wanted to stay another 3 weeks there to edit and prepare for the next steps, but once again, my 60 days were over and I had to leave the country. I hitchhiked to Kazakhstan, where I'm now volunteering at a ski camp, waiting for the Chinese border to open. So that was a little summary of what has happened until now. It's been a roller coaster of emotions, but I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else right now. So follow along to see what the next month will bring.